In this assignment, we are going to be discussing the idea, as the title says, the reality of manipulation. Now, manipulation is not a bad word when it comes to storytelling because we have to guide the audience. As you've seen in the last 2 weeks and part of this week so far, we have been talking about various things that draws the audience in. But we have to accept the idea that no matter what we're doing as a storyteller, we've got to make sure that we keep them on the path, that we keep them where we want them to go. Or we have to take them down a path they may not have wanted to go in the first place, but we need to convince them. So we've talked about narratives, we've talked about documentaries, various other things here. We're now going to cover some of the other items that are presented in the degree of styles of storytelling. So I do have to include some commercials, reality, that kind of thing. So I do want to say right up front, any of the items I am talking about when it comes to commercials or any kind of product, I am not endorsing or promoting them. All these materials are presented for educational purpose and analysis. Because right up front, I have to talk about the idea that the audience has to believe what is going on. So we are actually talking about the idea of either we're looking at it as dance puppets dance, or we're looking at it as a quest for the audience. The reason why sometimes it looks at the idea that it's dance puppets dance is how commercials are presented. Here we have two companies that make phones, cell phones, yet some of their biggest commercials are talking about how they work as a camera. One on the left, the iPhone, is talking about the beautiful images it makes and the grand and glorious shots. Whereas the phone on the other side talks about the idea that we know you want to share. We know you want to take what you see in life and share it out with an audience. So they say it right up front. Post worthy, meaning it's something that you will enjoy sharing with your friends. So they are playing off the idea of that intertextuality that actually happens with our normal lives, on the idea that we are being inspired by something that we have seen somebody else do and we are passing it on to the next person and going, here, share that moment with us. So of course, if we have cell phones, we have to have cell phone companies. Now, we have all of these things where we have different images, different items, different things that play on our beliefs. Who is the largest network? Who has this? Who has that? But as you can see, it's because it kind of is always reminded who the company is. This is showing Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. But now here's the question. You have to be able to have your audience remember what is going on with a commercial. So I have in front of me two images from commercials. I am not going to say which ones they are. I want you to look at these commercials, the cat herders on the left and the hamsters driving on the right, and see if you can remember what it is these commercials were about. But what audiences have to understand is storytellers need to make sure that there is something memorable in what they're seeing or play on an audience's memories. Currently, we have the Verizon guy, can you hear me now, actually promoting for Sprint. If you look on the left, look at the haircut, look at the style of glasses, look at the jacket, even look at which hand the cell phone is in. Now, if you look on the right, this is the commercial from literally this month's Sprint commercial, where you can see that he's got the same style, the whole thing, but now the jacket is open, he's got a little bit more relaxed attitude, the cell phone is being carried. But one of the things, if you will notice, is there is a clean white shirt on the left, but on the right there is the bright yellow of Sprint. So we're manipulating the audience. We're making sure to understand what the messages we're getting across. Now, this manipulation does not just exist in cell phone companies and commercials. It, of course, also exists in documentaries. And this is the ultimate form of manipulation. Yes, there are grand and glorious ideas out there. There are documentaries that talk about a various amount of wide subjects, but you still have to recall the idea that you are taking your audience on a journey. You are taking your audience into some place that, as I said before, they may not want to go, but you're trying to convince them of your reality. So Michael Moore, who is trying to convince the reality that there are conspiracies and there are different things that he must uncover, basically goes in and interviews. He makes himself a character. He makes himself a character in his movies, but it's more of a scenario to where he goes out and investigates. There is kind of a flip side to this one where you can actually have a documentarian that makes himself the character, as in Morgan Spurlock, who basically will come up with a premise and throw himself into it, throw himself into the idea that I am going to be the subject of my own premise. I am going to be the person that is going to do this as if I was the audience member going along on the journey, and he basically carries the audience through the entire documentary. So we've had commercials, we've had documentaries, but we also have to think about the idea there is also out there the concept of infotainment, as I like to call it. Those things that kind of fall in between the instructional film and the commercial, to where you have things to where you have stuff where, like Top Gear, you've got a show that is about cars and various car guys and different subjects, but yet they treat it in a very lighthearted manner. On the top here, we've got a infomercial for the Purple mattress and how they're trying to manipulate the audience into buying this bed over the other. In the lower right, we have a web series that basically needs to give you information about how to do something you may have never done before, but makes you want to try it, makes you want to get into the idea. And so far, all of these things I have shown you, you will be looking at either this week or you have seen in the previous week. But one of the last ones that sometimes gets missed that is part of storytelling is the straight informational. This is where it is a subject to where you are following a course of study, you are following step by step, you are being given training on how to do a particular subject. This can't just be somebody sitting there and talking about how you would do all of the steps involved. It also must be engaging. There must be a beginning, a middle, and an end. There must be this idea of being able to have the audience follow on the journey. So in the end, if you look at it as not Dance Puppets Dance, but as a quest for an audience, then you will actually be able to look at any of these mediums and be able to figure out the true reality of how it comes to manipulating an audience.